Listen, we are in our new year, and I love the idea. I've had many people come to me and say, hey, what's kind of the idea for the next year? You know, you watch, you listen to preachers, you see texts, you go to Facebook, Instagram, and everybody's like, 2017, best year yet. And I completely agree. I'm not here to tell you that it's not going to be the best year yet. However, I do know and understand one thing, that there is one thing that you take with you into 2017. You. And unfortunately, over the years, as every new year comes, I bring myself into that next year. And those things that I struggled with in 2016 or in the year past, I find that I take with me in the next year as much as I decided or felt like it was going to be the best year ever. And so the title of my message is, You Can't Assume Anything. It's good, isn't it? So positive this morning. Yes. Come on, preacher. Just going to tell us it's all going to be good. It is. But let me tell you something. Jesus actually has something incredible for you. And He wants you to walk in it in 2017. But there's a few tweaks. There's some things that need to take place as you look out into 2017 that I believe that Jesus is already working on your behalf, as my wife preached this morning. It's such a good word. Just stay calm. Stay calm. You know, my wife and I, if you've ever assumed that you had something, maybe like if you're like me, I have pulled out my debit card, used it, and forgot to put it back in my wallet, put it in my pant pocket, and then put my wallet somewhere, and then had to run out another place, and just assumed that I had my debit card with me. And you get to the store, and you're looking through your wallet, and of course, if you're like me, I want to blame everyone except for myself. So I look at my children, I'm like, what did you do with my debit card? And my son's like, Dad, why would I ever take your debit card? And I don't know about you, but I assume some of these things sometimes. Like you head out and you just assume that your phone is with you and you forgot your phone. And if you're like me, man, it's a strange feeling when you don't have your phone or you don't have your debit card. Those are two things that you just assume are with you. And then when they're not, you completely feel naked. You're like, I don't even know what to do right now. And then you're thinking, wait a second, I lived in an era when we didn't have cell phones and we were fine. You know, it's so funny. Like, anyways, I was about to go on a tangent about something else. Where was I? Okay, so this one time, my wife and I, we were in Colorado, and we were at the outlet mall. My daughter was 4 or 5 years old, and Emma and I were in one store, and Dana, and I don't know who was with us, but there were some other people. Melissa was with us, and they went to the store next door, right? So I told Dana I was going to go back to the car, and then Emma and I were together, and so I said, Emma, let's walk out of this store, and then I'll just watch you go into the store next door, because I know that's where Mommy and Melissa are. And so she went into the store next door, and I took Jack. He was just a little baby, and we went back to the car. So Jack and I are in the car, and about a half an hour goes by. And I see Melissa and Dana walking to the car. The title of my message is, Don't Assume Anything. So I see them walking back to the car, and I literally get out of the car, and I walk towards it, and I'm like, where is Emma? And Dana and Melissa look at me, and they go, what do you mean? She was with you. And I'm like, no, you got this all wrong. She was with you. Now, if you are sitting there and you are a parent, the same feeling that you're feeling is what we felt, that we're total idiots. And panic sets in because I assumed something, and they had assumed something, and somehow in that assumption, Emma was lost. We're at a huge outdoor outlet mall, and it was around a holiday time, so the place was full, and we both dead sprint back to the store, back to the stores, and we're like, okay, what was the last part that we went? And before this, we had created a song of Dana's cell phone number. And Emma remembered that song. And so what happened was she walked in the store, but she saw a little sunglass display and went behind the sunglass display. So Melissa and Dana, they just walked right out of the store because I didn't tell them that I wasn't taking Emma with me. So they walked out of the store, and Emma was trying on every sunglass on the sunglass display. And next thing you know, after she tries on 30 pairs of sunglasses, because that's who she is, she looks around and notices that no one's there that she knows. So she just walks up to the counter and begins to have a conversation with the person and tells them the song of Dana's cell phone number, 425. I can't remember it now, but anyways. And so as we're panicking and running all over the place, Dana's cell phone rings, and it's the manager, and they are reunited. But the idea is you can't assume anything. You see, there's a story in the Bible right after we get the story of Jesus being born. And it's the first story that we hear of Jesus, and he's 12 years old. And his family is headed to Jerusalem for the Passover festival. And as they go to Jerusalem, they're all hanging out, and they're all together, and everything's great, and everybody's having a fun time. And after the celebration, they all take off, and it's a giant caravan of family and friends, and they got everything and everybody, and they're headed back to where they live. And as they're headed that direction, they assume something. They assume that Jesus is with them. They assume that Jesus is coming where they want to go. And a few days settle in, and the parents start asking all of the relatives and friends, and have you seen Jesus? And they're saying the same thing that Dana and I said to Melissa. Melissa, it's all your fault. You know, why is she not with you? Where is Jesus? And I mean, can you imagine as the parents, like, great, we've lost the Son of God. Like God the Father entrusted us with the Son, and we've fully lost him. He's dead on some street corner somewhere, and God the Father's got to figure out something new for humanity. This is wonderful. I can only imagine the panic that settled into Joseph and Mary as their 12-year-old son is nowhere to be found. So somewhere in the scuttle, somewhere in the conversation, obviously he had memorized their number. He was God. He could pretty much do whatever he wanted. And they head back to Jerusalem, and I love what takes place. Because in there trying to figure out where in Jerusalem is Jesus, the Son of the living God that we've been entrusted with that now we can't find, where is he? And they end up going back to the temple, and they saw Jesus sitting there. And look what Jesus responds. In verse 48, this is Luke chapter 2, starting with verse 48. His parents didn't know what to think. Son, his mother said to him, why have you done this to us? Your father and I have been frantic, searching for you everywhere. Verse 49. But why did you need to search? He asked. Didn't you know I must be in my Father's house? Don't assume anything. You see, the story as I read it began to so speak to me because I feel like every year when it comes to this point, we assume that everything that we are working on and doing, that Jesus is going to be a part of it. And so in 2017, we make our plans, and then when those plans go awry, we are like Jesus' parents looking around going, wait, what happened? Wait a second, this isn't where is Jesus? Has anybody seen him? And yet the whole time you assumed he was with you doing what that thing is that you're doing. Now, before we get to some theological conundrums, well, that was a big word. I pull them out every now and then. Yes, Jesus will never leave you. But that's not what I'm talking about here. You see, Jesus made a response to his parents about, didn't you know I was about my Father's business. Didn't you know that this is where I was going to be? And what I begin to understand about Jesus is that there comes this place where we have to make a decision about whether we're just trying to have and add Jesus to our life, or we take our life and put it where Jesus is. There's a difference. There's a difference between the two, because I look at the response of his parents and they're like, hey, where's Jesus? And we all know what it feels like, or we've maybe met people who sprinkle a little Jesus on their craziness. They're my favorite people, by the way. Maybe you've been one where you're just so broken, but you know that Jesus is out there, so you just kind of sprinkle a little bit of him on your new year. So you've got all of these plans, and you're like, man, I'm just assuming that Jesus is with me because, he's my homie. And we're going to make it happen in 2017. Listen, I would not be your pastor if I did not tell you it's probably not going to work out the way you thought. Because Jesus was never meant to be added to your life. You see, they were family, and they just assumed that he was just right along for the journey. Jesus does not want to ride along in your journey. He wants you to ride along in what he's doing. And so in 2017, we have to make a decision. Where is Jesus? I don't want you to wake up in 2017 and go, where is Jesus? I assumed he was with us and everything was going to be perfect. Because many times we wake up and guess what? Then we blame him for it feeling like it hasn't worked out. And the whole time, he's like, I'm trying to get you to come with me. Now watch, listen, I want you to understand something. Because listen, most of us have built our lives on wrong concepts and crazy emotional roller coasters. Jesus does not want to be added to your dysfunction. Because that just is weird. And it's uncomfortable. Like I've seen people where they're like in massive arguments and they start arguing towards each other and they start using Jesus while they're doing it. I've done it to my wife a couple of times, maybe. And it's gross. Listen. Our emotions, our will, our thoughts, our parenting, our marriage, our dating, our job, our life. Are we trying to add Jesus to our house? Or are we going to his house? You see, in us, he's built something new. I want to read a passage of Scripture. Then I'm going to give you 4 things this morning. And I meant to read the passage of Scripture a long time ago, but I got into my message because I was so excited. Ephesians chapter 2, 1 through 10. Check this out. This is so good. Once you were dead because of your disobedience and your many sins, you used to live in sin, just like the rest of the world, obeying the devil, the commander of the power of the unseen world. He is the spirit at work in the hearts of those who refuse to what? Obey God. All of us used to live this way, following the passionate desires and inclinations of our sinful nature. By our very nature, we are subject to God's anger just like everyone else. But God, I love the big buts in the Bible, but God is so rich in mercy. He loved us so much that even though we were dead because of our sins, he gave us life when he raised Christ from the dead. Now look at verse 6. For he raised us from the dead along with Christ and seated us with him where? He's given us a new home, a new place. This place is different than ours. Our home has been built on whether it be the foundation of what our parents laid or what we've laid or our thoughts, our concepts, our emotions. And we respond to life based on that emotional feeling and thought process. And Jesus is like, I don't want to go to your home because you can't add me to that. What I've done is I've set you free from that place, and I want you to now build your life from where I'm at in heavenly places. I've got a new home for you, and in that home, there's something incredible that I want to do in and through you. Listen, you want to have a great 27, you want to have the best marriage, you want to actually see your kids be raised right, don't raise them in this house. Don't assume that Jesus is there. He broke that off. He does not want you to live your life, pastor or be with your kids. He doesn't want you to be, that marriage was never meant to be built in this place. Because the thoughts and the processes you're assuming come from a place of sin and brokenness. And he's like, why are you freaked out over there? This is where I am. This is where I want you to be. From here. Okay, look. I can see you're confused. Matthew 11:28. Look what Jesus says. This is what he says to us. I'm going to come to you. And I'm going to be in your house. And we're going to play tea together. And when you get angry and you feel bad, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to kiss your boo-boos. Listen, I know that would be an awesome message for 2017. That Jesus wants to kiss your boo-boos. And the boo-boos that you had in 2016, I know they were hard, but he loves you. He does. But I would not be a good pastor if I did not tell you that he does not want to be in that house. He's created a new house. What does he say? He says, listen, come to me, all you who are weary, and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you what? What's the first sign that you're in the new home? Okay, now take what I've got for you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your soul. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. There is rest and peace, which are the signs that you are operating where Jesus is at, versus you expecting him to be in your dysfunction. By the way, I want the best marriage. And for those of you who aren't married, you want to date the best people. But do not bring that into this house, because you will get the same results every time. Listen, I've been through, now I'm 43. I'll be 44 this year. I know I look really good, and you were like fully surprised when I said that. Some of you are, dude, this guy's not above 25. I know. Stop it. We go into every year assuming it's going to be better, but we take the same thing with us every year ourselves. Because we keep living in this home of dysfunction and sin and brokenness, and then we go, well, I should just add a little Jesus to it because it's going to be so good in 2017. And you get halfway through and you're like, ah! Like Jesus' parents, you're like, where is he? And then you come to me and you're like, I just don't know about this Jesus thing. And I'm like, dude, come on. It's not Jesus' fault. He's been trying to get your attention the whole time to bring you over to the house that he's prepared for you. He's seated you in heavenly places. He's set you up so that you can live a new life. You don't have to repeat the same stuff over and over and over and over again.